So to kick things off, I think this is an important one. I always like to start off with. SuiteConnect is a business, a local business has been in a fixture of this community for a long time, 50 plus years. And so please welcome up one of our first customers, RJ Melman from Let Us Entertain You. RJ. Welcome. I mean, RJ's got a really cool job. I mean, this is, and I got a chance to meet RJ recently and talk about his experiences. So RJ is the CEO of Let Us Entertain You, recently taken over second generation. So tell us about maybe just a little bit with the CEO role and your new role in the company.
Well, I've been president of the company since 2017, but I have probably the best job in the world. I get to create restaurants, work around food, design places, and work with pretty amazing teams. So I get a pretty good gig. We have about 120 restaurants across the United States. We're based here in Chicago and founded here as well.
You know, it's amazing. I did have a chance to eat at one of his restaurants last night. I was telling him I didn't go to the deep dish. I went to a nice Japanese restaurant, which was great, and it was very tasty. Somehow I didn't call RJ ahead of time, though. I was stupid. I didn't think, maybe
you had my number.
This would be great. Well, being a national company based in Chicago, I think this is kind of interesting. Why are you based here? But more importantly, how is it to do business here? What's the business climate like?
So I'm sure a lot of you read, or if you're living here, understand that the political climate is maybe not always the most business friendly. But you know, I'm born and raised in the city of Chicago. I live in the city of Chicago, raising kids in an apartment. I mean, I love the activity of city life. I think Chicago is one of the two real urban living cities in the United States, New York being the other one. And it is infinitely easier to live here than it is in New York, if you ask my opinion. For us, it's amazing because we have a great ability to recruit here. Even with our weather, it is really easy for us to recruit chefs from Los Angeles, chefs from Miami, managers from those cities, the hospitality schools around Chicago are great for bringing in talent for us. So with kind of all that Big Ten school feeder that comes here, we just have this amazing, hardworking workforce that I think our teams are amazing, and I don't think you could build that in another city. I don't see that existing. It's
a lot of people come to Chicago for food, which is a great place to be. Let me change it on this piece of it. The challenges in scaling your business, obviously, is you've been in the company for a while with since it's founded, piece of it, and your father and so forth. But the challenges in growing Let Us Entertain You, maybe just share some of your experiences and really how you've challenged.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of do things the same way we do every day. It's like we just open a restaurant, and I think people say, like, how do you run a big organization? What do you do to think, how do you think of 120 restaurants? So, like, the reality is I don't. I work on one or two places at a time. I try to focus my energy when I'm at them. If there are places that are failing, we have inevitably, like every other business, we have sick businesses and healthy businesses, and ones that need attention and ones that need more love and maybe have leadership changes. And so by thinking really small, I think it's what allows us to be pretty big, that we really do focus on details. I spend my day rewriting menus or working with the teams on menus. There's also a unique part of our structure that we haven't talked about, which is I have 100 partners. We have true equity partners in the organization. They are people that are homegrown, mostly general managers, chefs, even accountants that have come up through the ranks and have a chance to have ownership here. So I think that gives us a lot of longevity in our talent pool. Mm-hmm. We have this amazing base of now young partners I would say in their 20s and 30s as we start to grow. There's older partners that are in their 60s and 70s, right. And we have this kind of pyramid of this amazing young talent that have all been kind of homegrown. It makes, there's so much trust in what they do, and everyone has kind of have the same culture and identity. And I think that really, really strong corporate culture allows us to keep growing too.
Culture is a big thing. You talk about the big C's and little C's, big top down versus bottoms up, and the little C kind of going the other way. I don't talk about the C, but let's talk about the suite and maybe how NetSuite is helping you manage such a multifaceted operation.
So we were completely antiquated when it came to technology before we put in NetSuite. we started a process, I don't know, it was probably 5 or 6 years ago, probably in 2019, to overhaul our tech stack. And the financial portion of it was led by our accounting team, our finance team. We let them pick it. They did an RFP. We looked at your product. We looked at Workday. We looked at whatever Microsoft's product is. And I know that our teams are so happy. And my interface with that level of the finance portion of the technology is really, really small. I mean, almost non-existent. But when I hear our CFO sing praises about how excited they are that this is our second year of NetSuite, and how much easier it is to finish K1s this year, how much easier it is to do the budget process for writing, we write 120 restaurant budgets every year and start that in November and finish it in January, and how every step of the way they're excited about, and how we can do things that they couldn't even dream about doing because we were doing it with Excel spreadsheets before. Right. So getting us through the next 50 years definitely requires major tech overhaul. And we've done that in almost every aspect, but truly this was the cornerstone of everything that we did. So right. This was the first building block, and everything is. That is
great. And you talked about this a little bit before, but the restaurant industry in general requires a lot of agility. There's stores, there's menus. Customers are pretty demanding. I don't ever see that in my business, that customers are ever demanding, but I know in food service, they're pretty demanding as well. And I guess maybe the question is more of the tech foundation now as CEO and kind of being in the president role for quite some time is, how are you setting up technology to help your business with the quick adaptations that come in it?
So I get really involved if anything is customer facing or employee facing. Like this technology isn't as much. So if it's touching every guest that hits the table, I want to see what that workflow is. But at every level, we're thinking about, how they work with it, and we're also now looking at AI tools that. There's probably not one AI tool that sits over everything, but we have. Looking at AI tools for better customer service answering. Right. We have AI tools that help our finance teams write formulas better. We have, just like sort of data mining.
We're going to hear a lot about AI, and I think this is interesting because you might be the one that's seeing it in the front end of it with the customer experience.
Because we don't just have 120 restaurants, we also have 60 different concepts. So like information between the restaurants isn't always as relevant. Just because you have a salmon dish that sells really well at something doesn't mean it's relevant to learning something about the salmon dish at an Italian restaurant that has nothing to do with the Japanese restaurant. You're not learning anything about the guest preference. That part is a little harder for us to tie together, and probably less important to us. Like I said, we kind of think of each restaurant individually, but that data, but our whole, everything we work on is universal technology, so that's the other part that we think about it. So there was a time where we had this amazing individualism for our restaurants, but yet we try to keep the back-end systems all the same so people can work. And that is probably the most important part of how technology sits over what we do.
Yeah, and I think we're going to hear a lot about how data and all this piece of it. And I think you had, in the final moments here, I think you had this meeting with your general managers getting together. And it's kind of great to see a business that's your size still take the time to get 25 general managers.
Yeah, we have a general manager conference going on concurrently to this a few blocks away. And I said I was so excited last night because just like this, we have people who all have the same role. They're working in different parts of the country or different parts of the city. And I was watching like real friction between them talking about how to use a piece of technology better than they're using today. And like we had one general manager was like, have you tried using it this way and doing this? And I found it so exciting because what was happening in a conference was really what needed to happen in that conference, which was less about the content that we were all presenting, but more about them talking about their own ideas.
Today we've talked about plenty of ways that businesses can use the suite to unlock value within and between functional areas. I'd like to invite up two customers who are incredible examples of doing just that. Please help me welcome Sameer Afsar from Fellers and Lander Bravo from Backbone.
Thank you, guys. They're my Packer socks, by the way, for all the Bear fans. Wasn't lying.
As a Bears fan, that hurts me.
Sorry, dude. as a customer, I'd offer to, wear some beer stuff for you, but I just can't do that. So I'm not going to lie. I won't lie to you.
I understand.
All right. I'd like to say, could you each tell us about your favorite NFL team and, what they're going to do this year? But that's probably not what everyone wants to hear about. So could you each tell us a bit about your companies and your roles there? Sameer, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm the CIO of Fellers. We are a warehouse distribution company of vinyl wraps or vinyl film. We focus on signing graphics, color change wraps for automotive, and building window film.
Very cool.
Thanks for inviting me.
Of course. Lander?
Backbone is the manufacturer and software designer allowing you to play your mobile games in any place, anytime, and anywhere. So we're in the hardware and software as a business model space with what you've touched on with recurring revenue, a lot of complexity. And as the VP of operations, my remit is across our operations from we get the hardware from the factory to our doors to our customers and back, unfortunately, in some cases, in retail and hardware, and with our customer experience and making sure that we're providing the satisfaction and the growth in our company.
Nice. Now, Sameer, today we're talking about unlocking value across the organization. And a great tool for doing that is NetSuite Analytics Warehouse. Can you tell us about how your organization is using that?
Yeah, so we implemented NetSuite Analytics Warehouse to kind of bring all of our data together. So we have like legacy ERP systems, we have NetSuite, obviously, Salesforce, call center data, Google Analytics, all disparate systems coming together within the same platform. So instead of like an army of people trying to create a whole bunch of Excel spreadsheets, we have a team of people just analyzing data and just making changes to the organization based off of everything consolidated. So when we can look at the data, our executive team is constantly in there kind of saying, hey, a customer came in through Shopify, or they made a phone call, who picked it up, what warehouse delivered their package. All of those data systems are all coming into the same place.
That's very cool. Lander, the story we normally hear from customers is that they start with NetSuite in the finance office and then expand from there. Backbone did the opposite. Can you tell us about that story and your plans for expansion?
Yeah, absolutely. Our finance and accounting team are on QuickBooks, and a lot of finance and accounting teams get really locked into that. Our operations team are having to satisfy the customer's demand across every recognized country. We ship globally. We're an omni-channel business across Shopify, Amazon, and international distribution. So to solve our operations complexities, we went to NetSuite to allow us to be able to really centralize that data and actually manage that and get away from it is a lot of early stage companies. You have Google Sheets and you're working in Excel and to be able to get that into the system in a lot of ways where our accounting team were really stuck at that kind of what I call institutionalized in some processes. And so where we're going in the future, now that we have our operational efficiencies in place and our integrations, and we'll talk more about that, is we're migrating our finance and accounting team very soon here into NetSuite so that we can have truly that centralized data of truth and we're all sharing in the same.
That's great. Sameer, we're also talking about unlocking value in specific areas. And I think a great example of that is what you're all doing with your 40 plus warehouses across the country. So can you tell us about how you're using NetSuite to make your warehouse operations more efficient and the impact of that on the broader organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So our mantra at Fellers is speed, service, and selection. So in order to meet that speed, in order to have selection at all those different warehouses, we had to install, or we use NetSuite's operational efficiencies to make sure that the people at the warehouse, they don't have hurdles when trying to meet a porter. We have that same day ship. And so it's kind of what Lander was talking about is how do we continue to manage our 40 warehouses efficiently, remotely, and be able to address kind of the warehouses, hurdles, challenges, or anything like that at the speed of business.
Totally. And you're saying the bar is only going up because unfortunately Amazon has ruined customer expectations for all of us, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, our customers, we spoil them. And so they don't necessarily have to carry inventory. They know, hey, Fellers has the right selection at a one-day ship. So we ensure that the moment you call, we have NetSuite to ensure where's the closest warehouse, where's the product located. We don't have someone kind of managing that. I mean, the system kind of all manages that. So this warehouse staff, they just ship same-day service.
Nice. Lander, you're a hybrid business. You have a software element, a subscription service. You also have hardware, very cool gaming device. You should check it out if you haven't seen it. You work with NetSuite and our partner Soligo to bring in additional capabilities. Can you talk about how the collective capabilities are helping you achieve your needs within that hybrid business model?
Yeah, for sure. So with the combination between NetSuite and Soligo and being in, small, lean team, we're able to really leverage those integration points, the endpoints, to be able to connect to NetSuite throughout, as I mentioned, our omnichannel business, through Shopify, Amazon, our B2B international business, and allow us to actually do things like buy with Prime and add on functionality within Shopify and remove my team's reliance on manual processes. So really bringing that data systemically into the system and allowing my team to be able to be more proactive and what I call higher level servicing within the organization. So we're really bringing the results, and every order we have throughout that is very dynamic from velocity, size, and throughput that we need to meet the customer demand, and being able to satisfy what the customer is looking for, as Sameer talked about, is getting it to them as quickly as possible so they can play their games.
That's right.
Immediately.
Nice. Now, working across multiple companies can be a challenge. Lander, you're a repeat or serial NetSuiter. This is your 7th or 8th company where you've implemented and worked with NetSuite. So what have you learned about, and what's your experience been working across NetSuite and Soligo?
Yeah, that's right. A serial NetSuiter. I've had the opportunity to work in large and smaller growth companies. Passionate about hardware and software as a business model and scaling those businesses. And often when you come into, I've had experience with large companies that have moved from on-prem to cloud into NetSuite, and Soligo has, both, applications have been able to allow us to make those transitions and move the company away from some of the, any one of these companies, the row processes, the institutionalized manual processes, to really be more proactive around the business, making decisions, seeing what's happening, getting into looking at analytic warehouse, being able to share that data across teams. And operations is often at the center of that, from upstream impact to downstream impact consequences for our finance and accounting teams that, we're the protectors of the margin and everybody else has to close out the reporting at the day. So in those various companies, Soligo and NetSuite have really been partners to remain lean, not have to build a big back-end engineering team to support it, and also be able to provide the scale and growth to these companies.
It's fantastic. And yeah, Soligo's a fantastic partner, and we have other fantastic partners here. So please check them out here and beyond. Sameer, let's turn to your business model. As that business model continues to evolve, what is your biggest opportunity to unlock value, and how do you think NetSuite might be able to help you do that?
So we're always trying to look at where is the untapped market, especially in the film industry. Where are there business opportunities? How are customers evolving? How are they changing? How are we addressing it? So we want to ensure that we have a technology backbone with NetSuite and all of our operations to be able to address those business challenges at the speed of business. So we can't say, it's going to be a year before we address this. We have to move quickly and agile to ensure we're meeting our customers' demands.
Makes sense. Well, we look forward to being part of that journey with you, with both of you. Thank you so much for taking the time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.